Assalamualaikum. My name is Nurul Imaniyah binti Alias and my ID number is 2211079. Now I will give definition about inflation and how to calculate inflation rate. Inflation is the rate of increase in prices over a given period of time. Inflation is typically a broad measure such as the overall increase in prices or the increase in the cost of living in a country that causes lower purchasing power. In this situation where there is too much money chasing too few goods, therefore there is an inverse relationship between inflation and the value of money. Money will have less purchasing power when inflation is high and vice versa. A currency loses value when there is inflation, since today's consumer money can only buy a fraction of what it could yesterday. Next, inflation has three types. The first one is demand pull, which is occur when demand for goods or service exceeds production capacity. The second one is cost push, where production cost causes increase in prices. And the last one is pull in. This happens when prices rise, wages rise too in order to maintain living costs. Next, let's find out how to calculate inflation rate. The formula is inflation equal to Consumer Price Index or CPI current year minus with CPI previous year divided by CPI previous year and times with hundreds. So based on the data above, CPI for 2020 is 120.1 and the previous is 121.5. By using the formula, the inflation rate for 2020 is negative 1.15%, which is a 1.8% decline from 2019. Next, CPI for 2021 was 123.1 and the CPI for previous year was 120.1. So, by using the formula, the inflation rate for 2021 was 2.5%, a 3.62 increase from 2020. And the last one is for the year 2022. The CPI for 2022 was 127.2 and the previous year was 123.1. So using the formula, the inflation rate for 2022 was 3.3%, a 0.9% increase from 2021.
Assalamualaikum and hi, my name is Nurul ZULAIKHA binti ZULKANAIN. I'm going to present about the effect of inflation. The first one is anticipated inflation. It is the inflation that people are more or less prepared for. This inflation brings positive effects as it stimulates market growth, increased production, and reduction in unemployment. However, it also brings negative effects which reduce the standard of living, which leads to an increased cost of living for individual and household. For example, the price of grocery may rise, force people to spend more to cover those expenses. It also impacts on consumer purchasing power. As the value of Malaysian ringgit decrease, it means consumers need to spend more money to buy the same amount of goods and services as before. Next is anticipated inflation. It is the inflation that comes before people had time to adjust fully to its presence. The first effect is redistribution of income or wealth. The gainer from it is a property owners, as the value of property increase often faster than the average rate inflation on all goods. The loser is pensioners, as their income is fixed. With inflation, their real income will fall. The second one is discourage investment and savings. It distorts the behavior of firms and makes long-term planning difficult. Firms may divert funds from production investment to speculation. The third one is it will affect the balance of payment. High rate of inflation make export more expensive than imports. This will affect employment in industries involved in export. The last effect of inflation is breakdown in function of money. In hyperinflation, money becomes less useful as it loses its function as medium of exchange. This will lead to a replacement with the barter system.
Hello and Assalamualaikum. My name is AFIQAH YASMIN and my ID is MDB22111030. Today I will answer the question C with my partner AMNI. In your opinion, what is the most effective solution to curb the inflation in Malaysia with current economic situation? There are many ways to curb the inflation in Malaysia with the current economic situation. Here are some ways Malaysia could use to fight the inflation. The first strategy is the contractionary fiscal policy. Contractionary fiscal policy occurs when the government cuts spending and raises the taxes in order to reduce aggregate demand in the economy. To reduce inflation in Malaysia, the government can change its fiscal policy by implementing a budget surplus. It is typically used to slow an economy that is growing quickly. The first one is by decreasing the government expenditure. Where the government reduces the government spending, it generally restricts the economic activity by purchasing fewer goods and services from the private sector. This will lead to the aggregate demand shift to the left, which cause it to decrease and lead to the long-term price stability. Less government expenditure on the projects means less money in the household pockets, fewer goods and services purchased, and so on, all of which is intended to curb the price inflation. The first one is by decreasing the government expenditure. Where the government reduces the government spending, it generally restricts the economic activity by purchasing fewer goods and services from the private sector. This will lead to the aggregate demand shift to the left, which cause it to decrease and lead to the long-term price stability. Less government expenditure on the projects means less money in the household pockets, fewer goods and services purchased, and so on, all of which is intended to curb the price inflation. The second point is by increasing the taxes. The government taxes more than it spends on others. Increasing the tax revenue will reduce the economic activity by reducing individuals' disposable income, which likely causes them to spend less on goods and services. It will reduce the individual's consumption and will cause the aggregate demand to shift downwards. As more income is collected in taxes, less is available for spending, reducing the inflationary pressures.
Hi, I'm FATHIHAH binti AZAMUDIN, MDB 22111091. Today I will explain about contractionary monetary policy. For this policy, the central bank can reduce the money supply through different monetary instruments, such as using open market operations, raising the required reserve ratio, calling off special deposits, and increasing the rate of interest. This measure will reduce money creation, consumption, and investment, so that the aggregate demand will fall, hence it will cause a decrease in price. In my opinion, the most effective solution to curb the inflation in Malaysia with current economic situation in contractionary monetary policy is government can do a call of special deposits. During inflation, commercial banks are sometimes required to deposit an additional percentage of their deposits in the central bank to control their credit creation and decrease money supply and price level. Open market operations also the most effective solution to curb the inflation in Malaysia. During inflation, the central bank sells government securities in short-term bond or treasury bill in the open market to the public to reduce bank deposit and credit creation of commercial banks. Money supply will reduce, hence reducing the aggregate demand and price level. The last one is Malaysia government must increasing the interest rate. The central bank will direct the commercial banks to raise their interest rates for deposit from the public. The high interest rates will encourage the public to save more and increase the savings level to decrease the aggregate demand and price level.